Greetings, Sunday soldiers, and welcome back to Soldier Up Sundays with Sabrina. Today we are wrapping up our series on preparation. We've been laying down the foundation for us to get a solid framework to build us. And we are here to build skyscrapers. That's what you and me were made to be. No little dinky buildings. We are going to be skyscrapers. In order to have that, we need to make sure that our footings are concrete and solid and there's no cracks in our foundation. So we touched on getting mentally prepared. We touched on getting physically prepared. We touched on getting the relationships in our lives in check with others, with yourself, and with your creator. And today we're talking about that final lesson for our foundation on making sure that you do not become a failure. So why do people fail? This is what we're talking about today. This ultimately boils down to the question of, do you know who you are? I'm not talking about, do you know who your parents are? I'm not talking about, do you know who your neighbors are? I'm talking about, do you know who you really are? In terms of people being grown, why is it that some people can come from families that have everything, the best, they go to the best schools, they have the most money, and yet these people live destructive lives? They're in and out of jail, in and out of rehab. And then you can have people that are born from nothing. They literally go through the ringer. They have everything stripped from them, and they become roaring champions in their life. We are going to go over this today, and this all boils down to knowing exactly who you are. What box are you putting yourself in? You know, when you are asked to fill out questionnaires in life, do you box yourself in a category which starts to ultimately limit yourself? This is major because we're touching on a personal issue today. A lot of people approach me in business and ask me, why do women not do well specifically? And this is what I want to touch on today, because in today's world, going into the future, if you are a man or a woman in business, you better learn how to work with the other half of the population, which is women, if you're going to thrive and do well in business for the future. This is not a gender issue. This is a global issue. We have to make sure that both men and women can work together. So what are those three areas that were kind of off, disjointed? The first area is in making sure that both men and women, are you properly educated? This is key. You cannot use the excuse that you don't know what you need to know. As I said before, there's so much information. If you don't plug in the right information into you, when life squeezes you, you're not going to pass the test. And it's a matter of when. So whether you're a female or a male, you have to be spending that time and learning. The second thing that we have to do is we have to make sure that we're learning from the right people. If there are people that have experience, especially males in the world, in the working world. You know, one thing that was outstanding to me is that I recently found out that the first female was allowed into the Harvard Business School only 50 years ago today. Isn't that remarkable? Think about where we've come from 50 years to today. That means men have been studying for so much longer. So don't we have to become students of one another? You know, what we really have to do is leave our egos at the door. I'm speaking to you and me, women out there in the business world. We have to make sure that we are getting mentored by the right people. If you're waiting for a woman mentor to come along, you might be waiting for a long time. There are phenomenal males out there that will make sure that they mentor you properly. And what you have to do is leave your ego at the door. Sometimes men have to leave their egos at the door and make sure that when a woman has a good idea, you don't feel like they are less than you because they've been in the business world for a shorter period of time. You'd be amazed at what fresh ideas can come from new people. And the third area is you have to be very in tune to your purpose and not what your perception is by other people. In a very interesting study, they find that success and likability are positively correlated for males, and success and likability are negatively correlated for females. This really pisses me off. What does it mean? It means that as women climb the ladder, they are less likely to be liked. You know, when they do analysis on them, people will call them and say that they're cutthroat, that they, you know, are too harsh. But if a man were to do the same thing, they become more liked and say, yes, that's a business person. Men and women cannot allow this behavior to proliferate. We have to make sure that we are creating an environment where if you are a man or a woman and you are strong and you believe in what you're doing, it's because you are a good business person, not a good man or not a good woman. You know, what's very important, guys, is that you stay true to who you are. This is the most important thing. I recently went to my grandmother's funeral. She raised 10 kids and 26 grandchildren, and she was the most quiet person you would ever meet in your life. But to me, she was the most strong. So it doesn't mean if you're aggressive that you're behaving like a man. It just means that you're passionate. And it doesn't mean that if you're quiet that you're weak. It just means you have a different way of doing business. What we have to do is make sure that we know who we are, we stay true to who we are, and we don't box ourselves into categories that will ultimately limit us. There are going to be limitations in the world. We don't want to create limits on ourselves because we need to be strong so we can break through those limits that institutions place on us. Guys, I'm so excited for us to start building those skyscrapers. We've laid down the foundation and we're ready to get going. I'm going to bring you some awesome messages because I know you're strong enough to be able to take them now. So I'll see you next week. Soldier up. Enough is enough. Let's get strong. See you guys next Sunday. Bye.